Welcome, guys. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another Geek podcast episode. Today we have a special one. We're here and can we say where we're at?
Of course.
We're in Tillamook, about an hour and a half away from home. We have a special guest today. His name is John. I'll let him introduce himself just in a bit. One thing I want to talk about is and mention is how grateful we are as a Geek team for this gentleman here and his wife. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it today, but we'll get her on a part two. Just John, I want to tell you how grateful we are and how much you mean to us as a company. You're a very, very smart individual, very kind, very selfish. And the opportunity you gave us from the start gave us a huge jump to our roofing career. So first off, I want to say thank you, and thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you very much. And I think you meant selfless. You said I was very selfish, so.
Oh, yeah, he is very selfish. No, thank you. You know, John, so tell us about yourself.
My name is John Llamas. I live in Tillamook, Oregon. I moved here. When did you do my roof?
About 3.5 years ago.
So about 4.5 years ago, I came up to build this house.
Mm-hmm.
And met you guys because you had a good web. I met you online. I called you, and you're complimenting me here. And I got to tell you that you guys were service from the very beginning, from the first phone call, and that's rare in Oregon. Like, you returned every phone call. You showed up every time, no matter what. You guys were different than what I was dealing with locally here in Oregon. When I first moved here, I didn't know anybody, and I got blessed by running into you guys because, you were honest with me.
Mm-hmm. You
said you guys were just getting started. The asphalt shingle part wasn't a big deal. Didn't know about the metal roofing that much yet, and we held off and we waited because you waterproofed us in, and you got a guy and. Yeah, it was just a pleasure working with you guys. And any time that I've ever had an issue with you guys, there's always been a resolution, as quickly as possible. There's never been a delay, except for some scheduling, but there's never been anything that has ever occurred that hasn't been taken care of. And that's the sign of a great contractor, because there's always issues no matter what, especially doing ground up.
And we'll talk more about that later on.
Yeah.
First off, I do want to talk about why this interview is so important, right? And it's so special because we're not just getting a perspective from a homeowner, but also a contractor.
Yeah, I am a builder. Yeah.
Right? The title of this video would be, interviewing our toughest customer. And this is the reason why, is because I know you've been in the industry for some time now. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the construction industry?
So I originally got licensed in California, almost 31 years ago. I've been a licensed general contractor in Southern California. It's amazing how we moved here. I had a very successful business. I had some skills, God-given, and we turned that into some really good remodel type work. There wasn't a lot of open ground to do ground ups out there. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of room additions and stuff like that. A couple of ground ups. I mean, when I started framing, oh my goodness, back when I was 17 or 18, back in 85. Yeah, I'm old. I was doing piecework framing, and it was a different time at the time. It's hard, as you know, to have employees and dedicated employees. You've been pretty blessed. I've met a lot of your guys, and they've seemed to have shown up and do a fabulous job. But it's hard to get dedicated, good employees. And the way I was trained was, when you did piecework, is you got paid for what you finished, and if you screwed it up, you had to fix it on your time.
Right.
There wasn't extra money put in for hourlies and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could go to a pay system like that. But when I sub out a lot of my work, it's like that. You guys do it right or you don't get paid, and how I learned, and you know, it's yeah. So for 30 years, been plugging away. We had a really good business, but my wife was born and raised in Orange County. I'm originally from New York, upstate New York in Buffalo, and I moved to California around originally 9 in godforsaken desert, and then moved to Dana Point when I was about 17, and then but back and forth to New York because whatever, and then so from Dana Point on, I got my license to I did construction. Then I went to college, and then what I wanted to do in college, I made more in a summer piecework framing
Wow.
than starting pay, at least, you know, according to the school and all that. So I shifted from that. I was thinking about architecture for a little while, but then I didn't finish school. I went back to construction, and yeah, at 26, I was applying, and
Wow.
by 27, I was a general. And in California, it's different than here. Here,
Why do you say that?
well, in California, it's 2 days of testing, one on all the construction law. And if you're a general, you have to be a master. When I did it 30 years ago, it was, I think, 5 trades. And they had to be different trades to be a general. But a general is the only one who pulls the permit. So there's not a different plumbing permit, mechanical permit. So I had to know the codes for plumbing, electrical, mechanical, stuff like that. And so it's 2 days of testing and lots of questions. And so one day's all the trades. So one question's about concrete, the other one's about solar panel, the other one's about plumbing. Sure. And up here, obviously, if you took the test, it's an open book test about business, and you have continuing education. So when I even applied back in California, you had to have other contractors testify in letters saying this guy works at a certain skill level.
Really?
Where he's a master level, so he can apply and use this as one of his
And that's how you could get your license.
Yeah, so you have to have other people vouch for you.
And you had
your application.
And you had that by 26?
Yeah, I had a lot of companies write me letters.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
well, I jumped around a lot. I did framing from 17 to 20. I became a rear end foreman at 18. And then I worked in a cabinet shop. It was weird. I did drywall. I just started dabbling in all these other trades. I always kept going back to carpentry, but I started doing finished carpentry, a little bit of furniture building, stuff like that. And I set some tile, and I started getting good at all this stuff. And
so how long would you say you've been doing this? Construction, running a business.
Well, running my own business since I was 26. And I'm 57, so 31 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's weird because we were piecework framers and other type workers. So you would go onto where they would have track homes, and you would work, and as much as you could do, that's what you'd get paid for as quickly as you could. So you were always marketing yourself, even then, just to other larger contractors, though. So, yeah, it's weird. Maybe I've been running my own business. Like, I remember doing handyman stuff for elderly people at 12, 14 years old. So
really?
I've been always hustling, I think.
What's been your biggest challenge?
Knowing your worth. It's always been like everybody always wants a deal, obviously. And, and becoming honest. Like, I remember my biggest challenge was after I became a general, I thought the world thought that I needed to know everything. Like, if you came to me with a question, I had to have the answer. And one of the best answers that I ever had when I saw a contractor I respected do this, he'd be like, you know what? I don't know that right now. Let me check on that and I'll get back to you. I was like, oh, that's way better than me going, and a bunch of crap coming out of my mouth. So, yeah. But so once you're doing that, lining everything up, knowing your worth, like I didn't even, when I met my wife 10 years ago, she increased my worth again, and doing everything the right way. hardest thing in the world, because you're always in that fear of, oh, now I got to get workman's comp, and I don't want to be honest with payroll, and I don't want to do this. And it's just a hump you need to get over. Once you do it, it's no big deal. But it's right before you do it, all those thoughts of doing everything the right way.
Yes.
And all, so I know a lot of guys, and I see them suffer those penalties, and even I did, making decisions based in fear, like, oh, I can't afford that, or I can't pull this off, or I'm not going to pull a permit on this one, or whatever, so I'll get the job, and just paying these price after price after price of not doing the right thing. So getting over that hump, and once you become legitimate completely, you breathe that sigh of relief. It costs more, right? But it's worth it. Your guys are safe. You're safe. When I was in California, they always laughed. They go, well, wait till you get sued as a contractor. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm never going to do anything to get sued. And it doesn't matter if you do anything or not. Somebody's always going to come along, and especially in that size of a population. I
remember you gave me that advice. It's not when, but
not if, but when. Yeah.
Right. No, and that's one thing I'm really grateful for, especially in the beginning stages of Geek Roofing. I know you subbed me out to do your project. Actually, the house right behind us. It wasn't you, but Stephanie. She's like, I need this paperwork. I need this insurance. I need this. Stuff that I didn't even know you needed. Even when I first asked for workers' comp, because I know you need the liability, right, in the general. But even the lady at the insurance, I'm like, hey, I need workers' comp. She's like, wait, you're just starting. Why would you get workers' comp? I was like, what do you mean? I have employees. Like, you'd be surprised how many roofers avoid this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? Because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And knowing that and you guys requiring it, it literally guided me to the right direction where, like, hey, this has to be done. This is the right way to do it. Because it will come back and hunt you. Do you say that's one of the reasons why a lot of companies fail in the industry?
I would say, trying to cut corners. Like a bigger thing that I noticed up here is regulations aren't as stringent as they are in California. California is hard to do business in because they impose a lot of different regulations, and they have a lot of different people, and they pay a lot of people like code enforcement and all this stuff. If you're legit, you don't have an issue, And we were actually, my son's a new contractor, as you know, and Andrew from ARC Construction.
Yeah, shout out Andrew, awesome guy. Yes.
Andrew Rangel, and right here in Tillamook. So we're on a job. He's doing a ADU up in Rockaway, and I was framing with him that day, and the state showed up because he had a permit. And he goes, checking licenses, and he checked Andrews, and he goes, well, you don't have employees, and he goes, I go, that's okay, I'm a contractor, and he goes, I got to check your license, and so they're out there, and it's not worth your license, but so the hardest thing was first getting legit, and then trying to stay legit, and then the hustle. Like, all right, now I have 5 guys. Now I have 2 crews. Now I have 3 crews. How do I keep them rolling all the time?
Right.
That's a lot to do, And so when we came up here, we minimized a lot. Like, I had a couple jobs going while I was building this house in California, and it was nice, to be able to travel back and forth. My wife was a flight attendant, so I got to fly for free. I was a D1.
Oh, nice.
So but I also had to drive back down there a lot. But, but I was at the level where I could have my guys, my subs, and my project manager, who is another general contractor in California that worked with me, that I would contract stuff out to anyways. And he just took a salary and oversaw my projects.
Wow.
While I was up here doing this, and then I would go down and, and it works that way. You can grow to the point where you can work in multiple states. It's just your company's got to grow with it, and it's hard. It's like most of my stuff in California, I got a couple things in the burner right now that will be taking off soon. But, without a presence there, because we don't market. As you know, we don't even have a website.
Right. Which we're trying to help him on that. We're going to get him right.
We've been word of mouth for 31 years.
Yeah. No, and I think hopefully this could break that barrier for you where, it's a newer age. I know homeowners and viewers, this is how we reach them now.
Wow.
Back in the day, how was your marketing back in the day?
Well, I was a marketing major in college, and that's the funny part. Yeah, so I did know a lot about it, and I've always been able to market myself. But I've never had I had a brand. I had a company called Nail It, and there was a whole bunch of cool stuff we could do with that.
I like that name.
Yeah, but then everybody went to Screw Gun, so we would have switched to Screw It, and then eventually, F it. No, I'm kidding. But we had it with Nail It with John Llamas Construction, and I've always done good because, I always took it upon myself to do quality work, and it came from that piecework stuff. If you're gonna do something, so I got into a lot of finish work and high-end finish work, and I did a showroom for a client. And we set all the cabinets that all the manufacturers gave them for this Tuscany showroom. I remember all the cabinet guys coming in going, will you guys install for us? And we're like, yeah, sure. So, I actually do that here locally for a company that sells cabinets called Roby's. And they have great cabinets there.
Roby's, shout them out. Yes.
Yeah, but, and they have great salespeople that work hand in hand with clients. It's really, a good setup they have there. I really appreciate it. They're not pushy, they're not, they are really client orientated, and it's nice because we are too, because we're not, the facts are this, we're not the cheapest people out there.
Right.
We're the people you want because we're the ones you pay to stay up at 3 a.m. worrying about your project so you can sleep. And the facts are, the turnkey you get, we just did a 1-year warranty walkthrough on a client. I think you went out and did a video of the roof you did out there in Cape Mears. And the guy was like, yeah, I've had houses built before. I can't believe there was one deck board that was tilting up and a loose faucet. And he was like, I can't believe after a year here on the ocean with all the engineering and all this you had to do. And, he was like, I can't believe there's not more. There's not even a single, crack or issue or.
Yeah, I remember when you mentioned that. It actually really amazed me how you guys do that, right? Where a lot of guys, they do a project and they just bounce, right? And you won't hear from them again until there's a problem. But the fact that you're a man of integrity, and that's one thing I really appreciate. And even by this conversation, it shows. What's one thing that you really appreciate about other contractors? When you hire other contractors.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's the great thing. I seem to have, here in Tillamook, built a really strong team, like I said, stuff happens on every project. The homeowner rarely needs to know about it,
Right.
If you have a good contractor. He's the one that's there every day saying, hey, this needs to be exactly like this. This needs to look like this. I actually had you guys change some metal halfway through on something going, that's not quite the right metal. And we, but that's the thing. I have a team that says, it's, we're in this together. And we understand that every job we're working on is the referral to our next job.
Right.
And I have an amazing plumber, Sam. God, I always have a hard time with his last name, but he opened his own company now, and we use a lot of really skilled local talent. Like all my mechanical's done by Haltner Heating and Air, and we were just talking about them. Maybe I'm going to talk to them about maybe doing a copper steeple. They have stainless trim right now, but I like the idea because. Sorry, we're talking about a project
right.
we just finished in Cloverdale.
We just finished a church down here in Cloverdale, about 30 minutes from here, down in the coast, which we got footage on that, so we'll be posting about that as well. But we installed the new Ultra, but
Yeah, and it has a steeple that's cedar shake right now, and but it has stainless. It would look more impressive because they do have on the conical, or the cone on the very top, the cross is, I think, copper.
Is it?
I
I
think
didn't
so.
notice that, but
it
man,
could be
that would be
stainless
nice.
that's aged, but
Yes.
I did see a lot of the stainless. Like every 4 courses, they had a stainless. What is that called?
Yeah, I wish I knew what you're talking about. But yeah, no.
Yeah, they use it on siding. But yeah,
What would you say helps you stand out or your company stand out from any other builders?
so it's like you said, integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're going to be honest with you from the beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm.
We do this thing called, and a lot of people can identify this. It's basically like a flow chart, but every month, like if we did a new build and they averaged between 8 months to a year. If it's a custom, we can do one a little quicker, depending on finishes and stuff like that. But dealing with cities and all that stuff, and normally, and the good news is the subs we use are busy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We have Miami Cove Electric, but because they're one of my teams, and Stacy over there prioritizes JSA's work.
Okay.
Same as Geek Roofing prioritizes when I call. You know, first you say, "Hey, this is the best we can do," and I say, "Okay, here's your window." It's that communication that we have, that flow. You're like, "Hey, but don't worry, I'll get you dried in.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want." And I'll be like, "Yeah." And then you have like 2 or 3 months to come set the finish.
I would say this: out of the 15 years of experience I've been involved in the roofing industry, you're the only builder that has never questioned my price. And our quality, right?
Well, that's because when we did have issues, you had a product you were using that was too thin for the coast,
right?
And poor Alex had to take the brunt of my phone calls, And if you don't know me, I'm not always seeming the nicest guy. No, it was never a mean phone call, and there was normally a joke in there, but it was serious stuff. I was like worried for you guys that. You kept coming out on these warranty repairs on a roof that just kept blowing off a lot of the parts of it, and it wasn't even that big a roof. But somebody like you, and this is what you talk about, integrity, and this is what we do, is you didn't care that there was a cost, and you bought the product out of pocket for something you knew that would work on the coast and replace that whole roof. I mean, a lot of people need to know that that's the type of roofer you are.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Normally
I think roofers or just business owners will shy away from stuff like that. They're mistakes, right? But with us, that's something that we just put out there because I know we're not perfect, right? And we always let homeowners know, we're not perfect. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Right, but
you did it. You did it the right way. Alex always was in touch with me saying, "Hey, I've talked to the supplier. The supplier says we're going to try this." And we tried that and it didn't work. And I'm like, "Man, I think it's your product. I just think it won't hold up." Because then it went from that roof to another roof, And then we're like, "Oh, man." And then Alex is like, "Hey, you guys got to, come through on this." And I don't even know how that all shook out for you finance-wise, but you did the right thing no matter what.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about that. I go, it doesn't matter what happens on a job. It only matters what you do about it. And you've gotten every project after that, and without question. Why question your price?
Yeah.
And if I'm told to get multiple prices, I tell you that. I tell you what the other prices are. And, normally it's within a workable margin. You're never... you've been the best price most of the time, which is for the service you provide and the quickness with which you get out and your follow-up and your team with Ty and Alex and people that oversee what's going on in your business. It's a huge comfort to a contractor and a homeowner.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so if you would judge us as a contractor, not a homeowner, but as a contractor.
I'd give you a 10,
Really?
Yeah. And the reason is, I joke a lot. You know that about me.
Right.
And, but I have never had an issue. We've had issues on the projects.
Right.
But never with your service. Never with you not stepping up and saying, here's what I need to do. Here's the process I need to do. And I'm like, hey, as long as you're talking to me, everything's fine, you know? And that was the most important thing. I'm like, I don't care what's happening.
Yeah.
Just that something's happening and you communicate it. So I can communicate it because a lot of my job as a general, if I'm not hands-on,
Right.
is I'm giving information. And that's my job. I'm
You take and pass
taking
on.
it
Yeah.
from you and giving it to the owner, you know, and first, but the owner doesn't see the amount of communication we have prior to my one conversation with them,
Right.
you know,
Right.
about anything, you know, style of roof. Maybe this color would be better because my wife, as you know, offers a design element that not a lot of people on the coast can match, you know, and
if you can see the background, this is just a piece of what she's done
yeah, in 3 years.
in 3 years. Yeah. I think I
Even
still have
the
photos.
landscaping, but yeah.
We might be able to attach the photos that when we first started, when we papered.
Yeah, I think I have some.
If
yeah.
you do, send me some so we
I
could
will,
show
yeah.
the viewers the before and after.
Yeah, my dirt lot. Yeah.
It's amazing what they've done with this home. It's such a beautiful home, and we've done several of them. We've done a handful of projects for you already.
And they come complete. You know,
Yeah.
we even did hardscape at Cape Mears, you know. But yeah, it's amazing. I haven't done as many ground ups as I was originally planning on, but everybody, interest rates have changed. Everything's going on, and the good news is we're still doing them.
Right.
You know, and we do have clients of every caliber, whether you're budget, and we can squeeze in a home, you know, realistic, but it's hard. And that's the hardest part right now is explaining to people why things cost so much. Ever since the balloon during COVID, when they couldn't get workers to ship and make and mill, and, you know, the mills set whole new pricing on lumber, and just like anything else, it's never going to go down to where it was right before it happened.
Unfortunately,
And,
yeah.
You know, but I remember I started building this house right in the middle of it, and plywood went up like 400%. You know, it went from like $16 a sheet to $78.
I remember that.
What are you going to do?
I think at some point we were paying like $105.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
and
what we
we're
maxed out.
contractors, you know, and homeowners thought we had some inside track that it wasn't affecting us like them. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even want to give out prices for a little while. I'm like, because we didn't know. It was like you get a 1 week quote.
Right.
Because material's so volatile.
Because we talked before COVID. Now that I recall, we talked before, like a year maybe before COVID. I sent you a price. Then we stopped talking maybe for a year.
Yeah.
And you just decided to call me when everything went up.
Yeah. I was like, hey, why aren't you here doing this? Because we signed a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I sent you a check and people forget. Not my wife. And that's the other thing. The reason why we're here is my wife wanted to be here. We had no family, no work. There wasn't like anything happening. And, oh man, but if you know my wife and how fabulous you are, if you're blessed enough to get a part 2 and have her involved in interview,
we would love to.
I mean, I think you would get more viewers than I'm ever going to give you. You know, she's beautiful. She's fabulous. She's smartest woman I've ever met. You know, she's mean because I'm lazy, and
well, it's been such a blessing meeting you both. Honestly, it's just I'm really grateful for.
But she's the driving force of the business side of this.
Yes.
So she does, and that's a blessing. Not only does she do fabulous design, and she's designing the next ground up we're doing right over here in the same neighborhood, where you'll be doing those metal roofs. She also, you know, straightened out my business. Like I was from the hip, you know, I always prided myself before her that I was a slate and charcoal kind of contractor. Just write something up real quick and,
Get it
you know,
done.
but I had contracts, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose Chapman University. I was a contractor for them, a vendor on campus, and I was one of the few that got to work at the chancellor's house and the president's house.
Wow.
Because of the level of masking and work we would do and the yes attitude. You know, you got to have that yes attitude.
Right.
You know, and it evolved from there. You know, the department I worked for went from up to $1 million projects to $25 million projects, and they were bringing me along on larger projects for that too.
Wow.
And You know, they have all different levels. They actually have another whole company there that handles anything above $25 million projects because private colleges are doing very well. So, you know, and so that was a source of pride. But I was doing that, you know, before I met my wife. And, you know, they loved my work. My paperwork, they didn't care. You know, I would forget to bill for things, you know. They're like, yeah, he's great, you know, and I never gave them pressure. But she turned all that around. Like, I wasn't making my worth and value. I did great work and I made pretty good money, you know, and but she cleaned up the back end where even though I'm not charging more,
Right.
I'm making more. Like, it's weird.
Wow. Yeah.
So when we talked about doing things the right way, after you get over those initial humps of those expenses, they just become business expenses.
Right.
You know, and then you get to direct from there. You know, what do you want your business to look like? How many crews you want out there? Maybe you want little pop-ups that say Geek Roofing, and you know they want to just buy into your brand because you're a success lately. You know, you've only been doing this 5 years?
Almost. Yeah.
As Geek Roofing, and what a fabulous. I remember you asked me about the name. I said, yeah, go with the pink.
You did not say go with the pink.
I did say it. I was down with the pink. I was down with the name, you know, especially with a lot of the sitcoms.
Yeah.
You know, and most of the people with money, I'm sorry, we're geeks in school lately, you know, and if you're going to, you know, and the internet money is huge and it's a great name, you know, and, you know, you're making fun of me because when I incorporated, because I also have a different kind of corporation than a lot of builders up here. I have a full S corp, so we have full liability.
Yeah.
You know, most companies up here are limited liability companies. So, like you know, we have the larger insurances and we have all that stuff. But we're used to dealing with, and every house to us is a minimum $1 million to multi-million-dollar home, and that's how it's going to be treated, whether we're doing it from the ground up, or if you have me coming in to patch some drywall behind an electrician.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get that masking. You're going to get that attention to detail. You're going to get that blend, you know.
What can you do? You do it all?
Yeah, there's no... Well, I don't do plumbing anymore. And I don't do electrical. And we do some mechanical, but the framing, there's nothing that I won't bid. Because I have the subcontractors to bid it. Like, so if somebody needs somebody, like clients find me and they're like, oh, what do you mean you have a roofer? What do you mean you have an electrician that come out when you call them? And I'm like, well, you know, and people get so busy that they're not getting that any attention or callbacks. Like
service, yeah.
I've gotten 6 jobs because the guy's like, well, you're the only one who called me back.
Wow.
You know, and
yeah.
But people, I get it. When you're small, you know, and you're good, you know, you get busy. I just happen to be new. So, I mean, if you're blessed enough to catch me, you know, have me do your work, you're going to be happy. You know?
How can people find you? I mean, are you just working on word of mouth? Or
I'm referred by Par Lumber for windows, and my sales rep refers me. You know, we do those giant moving wall systems of windows and glass, and other contractors hire us to do those as well, because if you're going to buy a door that costs $35,000, you're not going to have your guys install it. So so I'm a window and door, like, I guess, specialist. I've always been referred for that, but it always blends into more stuff. And I'm also referred a lot for fine finish work. I'm being referred by Robies to do all their cabinet installs, or not all of them, but hopefully some of them. Wow. And, you know, they've been blessing me with a few things. Rosenberg's here has been referring me for almost everything. We set tile. I don't do a lot of masonry. I mean, tile work, yes, but not a lot of like brick and block. But I have a great concrete guy. Brian Werner Concrete, you know, all these local guys, but they show up every time.
Yeah.
Like, I call them, and no matter how busy they are, they have the respect and dignity to call you back, you know. And, you know, a lot of homeowners get frustrated because they can't even find an electrician, you know.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, we don't want to pay you to bring them in, so we'll just call them direct. So they find out even when I refer my electrician, they're like, well, he's not calling me back. I'm like, well, okay, I'll call him, and he calls me back every time. Even my wife's like, hey, your guy's not calling me back. And I'm like, oh, I better call him. But yeah.
What areas do you like serving, and do you plan of serving other cities?
I do. Tillamook's just one city. Right now, I would probably work from Newport all the way to Astoria and all the way out to, East Portland, Might even go into Vancouver if you push me hard enough.
Yeah.
But I've done work in Lake Oswego, a few different projects in Hillsboro, with your siding guys that you referred me to, J&L Pacific.
Yeah, shout out Luis.
Shout out
and his
Luis
dad.
and his father, Jose, who, have stepped it up.
Yeah.
We've done 3 siding jobs in Hillsboro together. I did the windows, they did the siding, and I dealt with the homeowners. It works out really well. They're a great partnership to be with. We do siding, but that's all they do. So
Right.
we get really great prices. Like the last 2 jobs we did, one was a custom milled cedar siding on a house that was built by a famous architect. I have all the pictures and names, but I can't say them. And it was the only house that was out there, and they've developed all the way up tight to it. But for the developer to do it and the new owner now, they had to keep this house original because the architect was famous around Portland, and he was Spanish, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
we need pictures of that one.
Yeah, and so we had to have it was all vertical cedar, and we thought it was just a standard shiplap, but it was a T and a lower T setting. So, but it all had to have the rough side out, and so it had to be custom milled a certain way, and so Par Lumber referred me to that one too. They said, if you need custom anything done, this is your guy, and they've been referring me to other contractors. I do some finish work for some other guys over there too. I've been blessed,
Yes. And you deserve it because, like I said, finding builders like you with integrity and just the touch of quality you guys do, it's amazing. Yeah. Like I said, from experience, we've worked with other builders, and they all say the same thing: give me your best price, which turns out to be the cheapest price.
Right.
Right. Like, give me the standard shingle, felt paper. And you could tell, if you imagine them doing that for their roof, imagine what they're doing for the inside.
Yeah.
Or the stuff that you don't see behind the walls, right? But the fact that you appreciate every single little detail, I could only imagine what you do with the inside, right?
Well, you could see some of it. I think your guy filmed a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if we could
in there.
Yeah, I wonder if we could get some footage on that one. And I know we'll drive around and show the other projects that we've done for you and the projects that you've done, so we could show those off. I want to ask you this question, and I'm sure Stephanie could probably answer it a little bit better, but we'll ask her as well when we interview her. But as a homeowner, what would you have to say about Geek Roofing from a homeowner's perspective?
Oh, man, you didn't want to go there. The same. You guys have returned every call from Stephanie. You've returned every email.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on the emails. Alex is, and my wife is. Thank God they communicate a lot. And, even to be honest, we had a slight issue on this roof. And we reached out, and you guys came and made some quick adjustments. It was just, she would love, my wife loves you guys.
Yeah.
You're her go-to people just to involve in like the church stuff. Mm-hmm. She wants to help your business grow. That's how much she loves you. So as a homeowner and as an administrator of my company, she sees what I see in you. So it's not, so as far as Geek Roofing goes, it's a 10 out of 10 with her. And I'm sure she would tell you that.
Yeah.
We use you every time that's possible. We didn't use you on one time and we paid a price.
I don't know about this.
Oh, when we had to switch to the metal roof at the other church. And the guy ended up splitting and going to do another job, and it ended up taking over 2 months. I didn't know about that. And it leaked into the parish hall a couple times. And
really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, my wife's like, well, what could a Geek done? I go, well, every time Geek dries in my jobs, they stay dry for some reason. If they don't,
Shingles might fly, but it
Yeah.
stays dry. Water does not come
Water
in.
has never penetrated on any of these jobs.
All right, John. Well, I want to ask you some questions. All right.
Oh, man.
That our team and some viewers wrote up for you. Because we mentioned this. We have a promo video right before we did this. It's so funny. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's John screaming at me. So what sparked your passion for remodeling homes?
Good question. So I guess we were talking when I was young, I used to make, go do handyman type work for like old people and stuff because they couldn't do it. I don't know. I guess it was being of service, but making people's dreams come true, because people have these visions that they want and or need guidance to a vision because they want change.
Right.
And if you can bring about the type of change they want, I have keys to most of my clients' houses, whether I'm remodeling it or building it new.
Just to trust.
Yeah. They're like, no, keep a key in case something happens.
Wow.
Like, that's the type of relationships I've had, and that type of word of mouth. And most of the lumber stores I've done business with, like even in California, Ganal Lumber still refers me, and they know I'm up here in Oregon because I have people down there that will.
Wow.
I'll sub out. So yeah.
Can you recall a time where you solved a complex issue that involved multiple trades?
Oh, absolutely. So in California, people want to go solar, and they want to go with the water down there and the scarcity. They want to do this thing called Greywater. So what they do is, so we had solar, Greywater. So it involved the plumbers, electricians. So what that does is that takes special tanks and filter systems. So everything but the toilet filters through into this Greywater tank.
Okay.
And so then it has to be repumped back in, and they use it for like watering lawns and drip systems and plant watering and hoses. So you don't have to keep reusing the good water that's coming from I guess it's a lot of snowpack melt in California. So, so it really starts to get reduced, and they're going to start limiting. So that involved like 6 trades just to get them a proper solar package with a battery backup. And the cool thing is once they did it all, there was an expense for the Greywater system, but the solar itself, they were actually getting money back from Edison, was sending them checks because they had a battery system that stored power.
Okay.
So they didn't just get the extra while it was running, but when Edison needs power, because you've heard of rolling blackouts and stuff, they could draw off of their battery power and they could supply power back to the grid. So that involved multiple trades.
Wow.
And it took, and you got to remember, here we're sitting on a blessed 2-acre lot, but even where you guys live in Hillsborough, you probably got a half acre, maybe a quarter-acre lot, and so when you're in Newport Beach, California, trying to come up with a solution on a lot that's in an association, they're not giant lots. So, this was a beautiful ocean view home with a casita and everything. Not a lot of land left over. So how to come up, where to remove. So we had concrete guys. We had to dig up existing concrete areas and engineers. And yeah, it was, I loved, it's not a glamorous project. I mean, they hired us to move a laundry room and do a master suite and all that after that. And they were great clients, but that's the thing. You see the type of work we do. We go in, and even on every little project, there's always problems to solve. We're looking at a bathroom remodel right now. There's problems to solve with everything. They don't like this, and they don't like that. And how do we change this? And that involves every trade again. You got your tile guy, plumber, electrician, HVAC, your mechanical. All these guys have to do certain little changes. So everything has real difficulties. We've had I went into a place where there was a leak, and it, a little bit from the roof, but it was bubbling up through the foundation because they didn't seal the foundation. It was creating black mold throughout a house. And that involved a lot of trades. So there's not much we don't handle. You know, we'll do emergency repair services too. And, you know, but a lot of that is insurance based, and, you know, you might want to, you know, but we do dry outs and stuff when necessary. But I would also guide a lot of my clients to like ServPro or something like that for aspects of it, because they can deal directly with the insurance. And why get me involved, and I'm going to cost more, and you can save a lot of money using them for all these areas, and we'll come in and do your, you know, fine finishes and stuff like that. And yeah, clients like that, honestly. They're like, I can't believe you're referring, like, I don't know if you ever saw Miracle on 34th Street, the Christmas movie, where the Santa worked at Macy's. And
sounds so familiar.
And it was an old movie, and Santa was referring them to their competition over at Gimbel's. And they all started freaking out. And Santa, but this was real live Santa, like came to help this little girl believe in Santa Claus again. And but they found out that by saying, yeah, you're better served here, was getting even more business for Macy's, because they were like, we can't believe you went out of your way to recommend your direct competition. And so I do that a lot. I'm like, hey, I might not be the best guy to do this aspect of your project. You might want to call another builder that I could refer you to, you know, and or we may be too busy. I'm not right now, but some points of my career, I've been so busy. I'm like, when do you want this done? If you're willing to wait, we can get you that. If not, here's this guy. Yeah. And I'll help, and I'll work with him on it. And yeah, it's a blessing to get over that bull, you know, meeting another bull. Yeah. You know, thinking you have to, you know, be the big man on campus, and just dropping that ego, like, because I really thought I had to know everything. I had to take every job. Yeah. You know, and just getting to that point where you're like, okay with knowing who you are. You know, your business does nothing but grow exponentially.
What advice is that some advice you'll give to the younger generation coming up? Or
learning to say, I don't know, let me get back to you is probably the best piece of advice. As a new builder, you don't have to know everything. And talk to your subs. They've been around, you know, most of them a lot longer than you, and say, hey, what would you recommend? You even called me and on another project I had nothing to do with. You said, I got this coming up. What would you recommend? Yeah. I said, tell them this, you know, and, you know, it's hard. And it's hard to be honest without trying to spin a tale of trying to look. Right. He says, here's what happened. The doors didn't come in. We can't go install your doors this week. We're going to have to reschedule. And we already had this other job scheduled. And, you know, but you are our priority. So here's when the doors are saying they're coming in. If they do come in, you know, this whole telling the truth instead of spinning some things so you look good that was, you know, you got to remember there's, you know, people understand. And it's the same thing I told you, as long as you're communicating and telling me what's going on and what's being done instead of what you're not going to do.
Oh, you don't understand how much you've inspired us and the way we do service as well. Yeah. Just for your integrity and learning from you. Who did you look up to coming up?
Well, there are people in California, so they're not going to be anyone around here. I even have people that I worked for after I got licensed that I admire in Southern California, like Omni Contracting, Scott Mermel, good friend of mine that really just straight shooter, honest. He has a partnership with a great custom cabinet building place that does kitchen and baths. And they just formed a partnership that is just knocking it. Dean Daniel Designs, wonderful cabinet guy. Yeah. Has great, it's just fantastic. You'd have to check out his website. But yeah, no, I'm basically a phone number and a referral. You know, if you want to find me, go on Geek's website and said, who the hell is that? You know, I want that guy, but I can't find him.
Whoever needs to service GSA
JSA.
JSA.
And, you know, he's only known me 5, 6 years.
I told him it's
What
time
the
to
checks
rebrand.
say. Yeah.
I told him it's time to rebrand, new logo, new name. So we're gonna help him with that. If you know,
He says he's going to build me a website too, so we'll see how that all shakes out. I've been paying guys his age for years to build me websites, and I still don't have one.
We just got to get a couple approvals before.
Yeah, no checks get written from me. Just so you know, I'm not allowed to write them. I married a power greater than myself, and God bless her.
Yes.
What a fabulous life I have. But that's another thing, you know, find good people to partner up with and treat them right. When a sub needs a check, give them a check.
Yeah.
I have never not,
Yeah.
you know, and if I have an issue, that sub handles that issue. There's never been, you know, as you can tell, you know, if you jump through these hoops, and you did, how's your life now?
It's
You know, you're driving
great.
a Cybertruck. You're not doing too bad.
Yeah, no,
you know?
thanks to you.
You have
Yes.
a podcast.
Thanks to John.
You know, you have a fabulous family business
Yes.
that you've included your family in. I mean, I love seeing your dad.
Yeah.
That guy won't retire, and he's my age. He's up on those roofs going, no.
I've
I'll run
told
the
him.
jobs when I fall off. You know, rawr. I'm like, thanks, Jose. You stay up there. Actually, he did that roof right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we
By
can point the camera,
himself,
but
buddy.
we'll get some content on that.
Oh, it's in the preview.
Oh, it is. It is in the preview.
Yeah, Jose, come fix my roof.
And we'll get some more drone footage. But just to close this out, because I know it's getting a little late. It's getting dark. I think you have
And I
dinner
get
waiting.
scared.
You have dinner waiting for you. Would you recommend Geek Roofing, obviously, and why? Just to close it out.
We've talked this whole thing through. Amazing team, you know, and you treat them as a team. It's you don't have a direct. You have a hierarchy as a company should, but there is no disrespect between any members of that team. Like I'm the boss. This is how it's going to go. No, you're open, and you're evolving constantly. But it's your integrity and your whole team's integrity. You know, when you say you're going to do something, you're doing it. You know, 94% of the time. You know, nobody's 100%. You know, I wish I was. You know, but you know, and your work stands for itself. You know, and like I said, we had some issues on some jobs, but I never had an issue with Geek Roofing. You know, some of the product failed for the conditions it was installed in, and the supplier had you jump through all those hoops until they said, you know what, you're right, go ahead and replace it. And I don't know how that shook out for you, and I can't even tell you if you strictly came out of pocket or not. You've never shared with me, you know, but you took care of it. So your integrity is 100% in place. And if a homeowner can find somebody that if there's an issue to come back every time, just like I said, we just did a 1-year walkthrough to make sure my clients were satisfied to this day. You know,
awesome.
we didn't wait for a phone call. We made that appointment. We went and met them. And yeah, it was so funny. They got locked out and asked me to come. I made them spare keys with the key they told me to keep. You know, so funny.
That's so awesome.
Because they went all digital and their internet went out.
Oh, it went out so they couldn't
So
open
they
their
couldn't
door.
open their own doors. But I had a key to one of the doors. So yeah. They just don't carry one with them because they were all digital. Did it with their phone. So yeah. Smart houses are awesome, and we do them.
Yeah.
But always have a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good
Have a
idea.
rudimentary backup, you know. But yeah, Geek Roofing is stands behind its workers, stands behind the product they install. And communicates 100% worth every dime, and you're not the most expensive. I've told you, you are more lower to middle, maybe lowest on a majority of our projects. You know,
Sounds like we have to raise our prices.
Not with us,
No.
but yeah, everywhere else. No, but that's the other thing, we don't question it. You know, we have a team. And you're asking me as somebody, as you're an integral part of the team. But what am I going to say, you know? Don't go with it. No, we never had an issue with Geek Roofing. And if you guys are other contractors, they have fabulous swag. You know,
Yeah, check out the hat.
This is just nothing compared to what they've made for me.
Yeah. I'm sure you have a whole closet full of Geek gear.
Yeah, I just gave them back 2 sweatshirts because my wife said that color doesn't suit me. So I'm expecting 2 more in that green you making the beanies. And
Yes.
but you've been fabulous to every homeowner I've referred you to. You've been fabulous to every job we've done. I have not had one issue with Geek Roofing.
Thank you, John.
You know,
Thank you, John.
And I would recommend you today, tomorrow, and every day.
That means a lot to us, John. I really appreciate it.
But it's the truth. It's easy to say when it's the truth, you know. But that's who you are, you know. And we asked you for help with the church, and your money went to building a whole new sanctuary at the church. You know, that my wife's just a little member of, and yeah, they got a lot of bang for the buck, you know. And it's because of contractors like you stepping up, not just, you know, for profit, but for the community and giving back. And, you know, it's all part of it. And you get to have this fabulous life, you know, fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and our fellow man.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I can give you.
And that's one thing you guys done so well. I've noticed you and Stephanie, how much you guys have given back to the community. I know you guys only been here for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And you guys done a lot for the community here. I can only imagine what more you guys could do.
Well, and there's a few members of the community that we've met through different avenues, churches, and, you know, we have a state senator here, Suzanne Weber, and she's introduced us as some people to maybe even get on some boards about, you know, they have low-income housing here, but there's not a lot of middle-income house building going on. And they're working with state programs to get that done. So
I'm excited for that.
Hopefully, if I think about it, I will do some return phone calls with that.
Yes.
And a couple emails and get that started. So, yeah, there's a lot of people doing a lot of exciting things in this town. And I got to tell you, I don't want to bolster the community too much because I like how small it is. But this has been a great community to land in. They've loved us with open arms.
It's growing too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a, you know, fabulous life because you are where you're at. You know, so no matter where you go, that's where you're at.
John, well, man, this has been fun. It's been a huge honor, honestly, just working with you, talking with you. Thank you for inviting us over.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful home. We'll show some footage of it. I really hope this is not the last time we interview you.
No,
I know there's so much more knowledge. This is just a glimpse of who John is, guys, by the way. He's so much fun here. He is a little selfish, but he is selfless.
That's true. That's true. I can't believe your whole audience isn't thinking about me constantly.
No, but I would love to even vlog with you and just go on the road with you and actually see it firsthand, right? The way you operate and the way you move around. And how you operate your business. It'll be fun to watch and just vlog some of it so we could show the viewers and your customers.
So you're married, right?
I am.
Just learn these 2 words. Yes, dear. That's it. That's the secret of my success today. That's how the house is so fabulous. You know, she's got somebody who has a couple skills.
We can't wait to come back and interview her. We might have to do that interview inside the house.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
I know you're doing some work inside. I'm not sure what you're doing, but
yeah, we're doing a mantle and some coffering and stuff.
It's beautiful, John. Well, buddy, thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
give you a hug?
Of course. You're better. It's getting cold out here. That sun went down.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you for everything you've done.